Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle D, or Coach Danni D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas. And I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danni D, and I am here always helping women entrepreneurs, business owners, career women to navigate that space of work life balance and to just find joy and fulfillment, like to redefine what success looks like and make success be something that's personal to you. So, if you are a avid listener, watcher, depending on if you are on YouTube or on the streaming services for podcasts, will probably you probably know or have realized that I did not do an episode last week. And my husband, who is definitely one of my biggest fans, pointed that out. He said, I don't think you did an episode. I didn't. I absolutely didn't. And that kind of segues into what I want to talk about today. So, today's topic is self awareness. And it's been just following me everywhere I go. I see something related to self awareness. And so that's really what I want to jump into. But it also touches that as well. So, um, just the last couple of weeks have been like super, super busy. So had a college visit with my son that was kind of last minute. We wanted to see a school before he made his final decisions. So we threw that trip in to an already busy schedule. Um, did some stuff in between a couple of days and then turn right back around to go to a big balloon build and everything associated with that. If you're in a balloon community, there was a accident that happened that impacted much of the leadership team for the balloon build. And so, it just has been a hectic few weeks, came back, trying to get reacclimated into things, and then just being at the point where I was, realizing that I had never processed a lot of stuff because, things were busy actually before my son's trip because literally prom was the night before and we woke up crack of dawn in the morning to get on a plane. So it's been a busy season, but busy in a way that I haven't had a moment to really process things the way that I would like to spend the time that I would want to on the various things that I'm, going on in my life and that are important to me. So what I realized last week was I just need to just process. Like I need a minute. I need a minute. And that's a fair statement. And that's a statement that we don't pull out as much as we should. Sometimes we need to say, I need a minute, and to just take that step back, even though it may feel like I can't take a step back because I'm so busy. That minute is necessary. And that minute puts you in a position that you can come back stronger and more focused and um really keeping you from, because a lot of times when we're busy, what we do is we go from one thing to the next and we don't actually think about how those things pair up. And sometimes we're moving in directions that are not the path that we belong on, or not getting us closer to our overall goal, but we're so busy moving, we don't get the opportunity to just check for a second. Hey, am I in the right space right now? So I need a minute. Practice that. Practice saying, I need a minute when you need a minute and take that minute and give yourself the space to process. So I went back and forth with myself a few times. I said, well, in the past, at least once I can think of in the past, I didn't put out a podcast on Wednesday, which is my, normal day. But I went back and did it on Thursday or maybe the Friday, depending on how things were going. But this time I was just like, you know what? I'm not in that space right now. And I I want to, bring you guys the best of me, not necessarily the perfect me, but the best of me. And I was not in a space that I felt like talking. I just didn't feel like talking. Um, but that comes with great self-awareness. So I spend a lot of time getting to know me. And I realize that a lot of people don't spend that time. Like a lot of people, when someone tells them something that is like very prominent about their personality or their character, they are like taken off guard because they are not spending that time. Now, granted, I don't see everything about myself. It's a work in progress. I've had people say things to me sometimes and I'm like, "Oh." And then I say it to a friend and they're like, "What? Like you didn't know that? Like you didn't know that like about yourself?" And I'm like, "No, didn't." I never thought about it. I just thought it was weird that people related to me in this particular way didn't know that that was like something I was exuding, right? But self-awareness. So self-awareness is being, one introspective where you sit and you actually sit with yourself and think about how you process things, what your reactions to things, how your behavior influences situations. It's also being able to listen and to hear when other people are saying these things, and that's good or bad. Because sometimes people, only think about, well, this person is saying I'm to this or to that, or, what have you. And a lot of times that's more a reflection on them than you. But it's not just that you are intaking, um constructive criticism, right? It's positive feedback as well. A lot of times we don't see like overwhelmingly positive things about ourselves. That's the beauty of when I do the capable confident challenge. That's the beauty of that, is that it is so, interesting to see that like every, everyone around this person sees them as this and they don't see it at all. So it again, it goes back to that self-awareness. So it is taking that feedback, positive feedback, um, as well as constructive criticism, taking that feedback and sitting with it and finding where you fit into it. Because in some instances, again, sometimes it's not you, it's the other person. Sometimes it's how it's something that they need to reflect on that is creating that feeling, especially when it comes to the twos. You're two this, you're two that. Two for who? Two for that person, right? So, take it with a grain of salt, but we have to be able to receive that feedback. We have to be able to process it. We have to be able to sit with ourselves because we're going to spend the most amount of time on this earth with ourselves. So we have to be, self-aware. We have to be able to really reflect in that way. Um, it took self-awareness for me to realize I needed a break and that I was not in the space to to pour, you know what I'm saying? I was not in the space to pour because, if we're using the analogy of pouring, I was not stable enough to pour. And I don't mean that in the standpoint of like I was having a breakdown or anything like that, not this time around. Um, but just that I just needed space. I was not in that headspace. Think about if you were trying to pour into a glass and you're tired or you're distracted or you're just, processing and you start to spill everywhere because you're not focused enough to pour appropriately, right? So that was a moment of self-awareness. Um, this of course is just like a shorter episode. I want you to go back if you haven't listened to the episode with Kat Parker. She was on here talking about emotional intelligence. And one of the main things we talked about there was self-awareness being the first step in the process of emotional intelligence. I want you to, go back and catch that episode because there's gems all throughout it. But we are responsible for self. We are responsible for how we show up. We're responsible for how we impact the others around us. And that is all that we are in control of. We often want to change others, shape others, influence others. We can do that, but we're not in control of that. We're in control of ourselves, our behavior, our responses, our triggers. That's what we're in control of. And so we have to work within that reality. Now, our existence can influence others. It may even inspire others to change or to reflect or to do something differently, but we can't rely on that. We can't be focused on that because it's not our jobs to quote unquote fix people. People are fine the way that they are. It is our jobs to be self-aware and figure out why, we feel this way about this thing. Figure out why we respond to this thing. Figure out why this thing triggers us. Figure out why, we do some of the behaviors that we do that we don't actually like. Sometimes there's things that we do we don't like. And once we figure those things out, use those tools to navigate our space, our world, our relationships, our businesses in a better way. Because, um, I think sometimes we do things and because we're not self aware, we don't realize that our reaction is based on something triggering us and not the actual situation. So we're responding to something that's not even actually the true situation. So, give an example. This just came to me as I'm talking to you guys. Is I can remember when my son, who I can't believe is now about to graduate high school. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. Okay, so I can remember when he was a little, baby, like he was 1 or 2 years old. And he never was like a temper tantrum child, but there were moments when he would, get upset or be cranky. And I remember sitting there and just trying to figure it out because I'm like, he's not normally like this, but every once in a while he's like this. And what I realized was he would, you know, be in a bad mood or be cranky if he was hungry or if he was sleepy, which makes sense. I mean, think we all understand hangry, right? So he would be in a bad mood in those situations. So if those situations were taken care of, then that part of him would not come out. But the way that I was raised, or is a way a lot of us was raised, that reaction would have been dealt with his reaction as opposed to the cause of the reaction, right? So the reaction of you acting out or being rude or whatever it is would have got dealt with because that's not how you're supposed to behave. But if the understanding is I behave this way because I feel this way, then now we can address the cause. And my child being the child that he is and the adult that he has always been, the second week of kindergarten said, "Mommy, I need a new bedtime because when I don't get enough sleep, I'm cranky the next day." That's like the greatest self-awareness that I could think of, the greatest example of self-awareness. We have to get there. And so, just to tie it to something greater than, not that it should need to be greater than your interpersonal relationships or your just relationship with yourself, to tie it back to your business. Sometimes we get requests from our clients, and the request may be, I'm looking for such and such, but not an arm and a leg, right? Or they may send a picture of something, but then their budget doesn't match. And that for a lot of us is a trigger. And the trigger is because we've struggled with either internally or externally, we've struggled with self-worth and getting paid our worth. And that client is not saying you're not worthy of this money. 9 times out of 10, they don't even know how much this is supposed to cost. That client is saying, "This is my budget. I want this thing." And it's our job to educate them and say, "You know what? No, this thing costs a different amount. And this is what I can give you for that price," right? But it's the self-awareness piece that pulls the um attitude, anger out of the situation, that self-awareness piece of, hey, this person was not trying to play in my face. This person wasn't trying to do anything other than get something and not knowing how much that thing costs. That's self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing, you know what, that bugs me, but this person doesn't even know me. And they did not wake up this morning thinking, you know what, I'm going to bug the hell out of Coach Danny D today. That was not their thought process. So self awareness says, you know what, you are in a mood right now. Take a break, go for a walk, take a break, and respond back in a few minutes when you can regroup and not have that chip on your shoulder. That's self awareness. So, work on self-awareness, work on really understanding, knowing, exploring yourself. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I did a video yesterday talking about um debriefing in situations, reflecting on what you could have done better or differently. And I want you to think about some situations in your life where a situation went away that you didn't want it to go. Sit back and replay it in your mind from the lens of self awareness, from the question of what could I have done differently? Now, we're not talking about with the other person because we can't control that. What could I have done differently? How could I have responded differently to make the situation go better? And that perspective will change a lot of things for you because it doesn't necessarily change your relationship with that person. It could, but maybe that's a lost cause. Maybe that relationship is a lost cause. But in taking that moment to reflect on self, when you move forward, you could always be moving forward as a better version of yourself. It doesn't mean, again, that you making amends with this person. Maybe they were 100% wrong and they just going to stay in that space of wrongness. But that doesn't mean them being wrong does not mean that you don't have space that you could have done something differently, thought about it differently, taken a different perspective. Um, Maybe that person said something and it escalated the situation with you, not because of what they said, but because what they said hit a trigger of yours. And having that self awareness to know, hey, even though this person might have been wrong, there's something there that I'm not dealing with, that I need to deal with. Because again, the goal is for you to always be walking away a better version of yourself, allowing yourself to explore, process, and heal from whatever has, happened prior to today. So self-awareness, that's the theme apparently of the week. Um Also, while I have you, we're coming up on Mother's Day, so I want to wish all of the mothers, the mother figures, um, happy Mother's Day. I want you to enjoy and celebrate yourself, and I hope that others are celebrating you as well. Beyond that, I mean, my little secret Mother's Day was not a secret. I tell everybody. My Mother's Day thing is I'm off. That is my day that I am off all the jobs. I'm not anybody's mother, wife. I'm not anybody's employer. I'm off on Mother's Day, right? To the extent that my child asked me for a band-aid on Mother's Day one year, and I said, "Where is your dad?" So sometimes give yourself off, that you're not responsible for all the people and all the things and all the take time off. It's important. It's important for you to do that and to model that for your kids as well so they know that they deserve to have time off. So that many of you know that I am a candidate for the LLS, that's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Visionary of the Year here locally in New Orleans. I've been campaigning for that. And so I will put the link in the bio where you can donate to that, especially Mother's Day. My why is to honor my mother. My mother passed of leukemia when I was 6, and I want to honor her. If we reach our team goal, I can put a research portfolio in her name. So that's my why, especially with Mother's Day coming up. I really, really want to do this for her. So if, any amount, $5 and up that you want to donate, please, take the time to do that. We have the calendar detox coming up June, in June, I believe. So the calendar detox in June and the next round of Capable Confident Challenge in July. So I'll put those links in the bio. And besides that, have a wonderful rest of your week, weekend, Mother's Day, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening to the Prophets in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDanniD.com.